Welcome to Kevin's European Garage, and today I'm going to be servicing the front and the rear differential on my 2013 Porsche Cayenne. So the fluid I'm going to be using today is the Ravenol VSG 7590, and I'm going to be using this in both the front and the rear differential. For the most part, all the Cayennes use the same fluid in the front differential, I think, except for the hybrid model and the diesel model. They might use something different, so you have to double check on that. And in the rear differential, you have to make sure that if you have a locking diff or not, and you can look at the back of the differential up on the driver's side, all the way up on the top. If you see some electronic servos and connections up there and motors, that means you've got an electronic locking diff, and the 7590 is not what you're going to use. You're going to use something different. And you can go on Ravenol's website and you can get all the information as far as which fluid you're going to need for your service. Okay, so we have the rear differential over here, and unfortunately the 8mm hex that I have doesn't fit over here. You got very little room between the rear differential and the rear subframe. So I wasn't able to get that in there and actually get a wrench on it and be able to take it off. So what I ended up having to do is I had an 8mm bit that I had from like a little kit. So I used that to put in there, and then I had a flare nut wrench. It's got a 1/4 inch flare nut wrench, and that's what will work on this. And then we'll be able to break this thing free. Unfortunately, we're not gonna be able to torque it up to the 26 foot-pounds, or at least use the torque wrench to get it there. But as long as it's tight, and it should be just fine. So let's loosen up the fill. Now I can use a regular wrench to get the bottom one out. Now let's let that drain. If the car is cold, it's a good idea to take it for a drive to warm up the rear differential fluid so it drains faster. Now that it's done draining, let's put the drain plug back in. We're just going to make sure it's tight for right now, and after we're done, we'll torque it up to 26 foot-pounds. So now to fill it up, I'm going to use a spout that comes on the Ravenol bottle. So push that in there. And then squeeze. Okay, so the differential is filled up now. This differential only takes 1 liter on a fill. There's about 3 differentials in here. You have a locking, you have the open, and then you have the ones that are used in the diesel and the hybrid. So each of them gets a different fluid level. So I'll put that inside the comments so you know which one gets what. And now we torque this up to 26 foot-pounds. And over here, I don't think I'm gonna be able to squeeze this in on the top over here. There's just not enough room. No, there's not enough room, so we're just gonna make this tight as best we can using the 8mm bit and a 1/4 inch flare nut wrench to make sure that we get a nice good grip on it. Let's go tighten that up. All right, and that's tight. I think it's the turbo diff, and I think maybe the GTS or something. There's one of them that you just fill right up to the fill level over here and let the fluid come out, and then that's topping it off. But this one gets 1 liter, and it's measured because filling it up over here is beyond 1 liter, probably like 1.4 liter. All right, the rear diff's done. Let's go on to the front. Okay, I jacked up one side of the car just to kind of make this easy to get the covers off. I'm going to pull off all these covers over here so we can get access to the differential over here. So here's a drain, and up the side over here, this is where the fill is. I don't understand why Porsche did this, or Volkswagen or whatever, but both these differentials, the fill plugs are both like right in the way. The subframe is right in the way of both of them. So you can't really get the, you can get the socket up in there, but you can't get anything on it to get it off. Then I just remembered I have these little adapter that goes in to a 3/8 socket with a 9/16 or 14 millimeter end on it. This might actually work. All right, so you can break it free using that technique, and then afterwards you got to come all the way to the back side and use a long extension to get in there. It's not straight on, so I wouldn't recommend doing this to actually break it free. I would only do this after you've already broken it free. So now that this thing is off, I should be able to do the rest of it by hand. Okay, so now this is pretty much done draining. I'm gonna put the plug in. And they say that this one's supposed to get a 1/2 liter. So I'm gonna measure what I drained out of here to see if it's pretty close to 1/2 liter. And now that I got the car level on the ground, I'm just gonna verify that I got out all the fluid. I measured it, and it's exactly 1/2 liter is what came out, and that's what they said you put in on the drain and fill. So let's see if there's any more in here. There is so little coming out after letting the car back down to the ground level. Having it jacked up on that one side isn't gonna make too much of a difference. So it makes it easier to access too. Have at least one side of the car jacked up. I probably wouldn't do both. All right, so that's tight now. I'm gonna jack up the car again, and then I'm gonna fill in exactly 1/2 liter. So unlike the rear differential, you can't get the fluid to go in just using the nozzle that comes off of this. So what you're gonna have to do is use a little pump like I got here and fill it up this way. Okay, so that's exactly 1/2 liter. Put the plug back in. And like I said before, unfortunately we can't torque it up because you just can't get the socket in there, but so we're just gonna have to do it this way. Just make sure that it's nice and tight. And that should be good enough. Okay, that's tight. That's probably close to 26, if not a little bit more. And we'll do the bottom one too, exactly 26. All right, the differential service is done. I just gotta put the covers back on and take it for a quick test drive. So thanks for watching me change the front and the rear differential fluid on my 2013 Porsche Cayenne. One thing I did notice after looking at the fluid is that the rear came out pretty clean, but the front, that was definitely dirty. I would probably suggest doing the front sooner than the rear, or doing the front a little bit more often. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll have some more videos coming out soon. Thanks.